or event, whatever you call it, yeah. Accident.
This is where this accident.
Incident.
Accident is actually, my friend, that's a very good word. No. No, 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 no. It was as if the child had become lost in the very word, as if all the world was contained in the screaming of this one negative syllable. No, 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 no. It was Hugo. All of them by now, Hector figured, must know that it could only be Hugo. It was the men who rushed outside, as if the child's screams were somehow connected to the rules of the game, and therefore it was the men who should arbitrate in the dispute. Hugo was awkwardly slamming the bat on the ground. He needed to hold onto it with both hands, but his grip was strong. He would not let it go. Ravi was trying to plead with the little boy. Rocco was frowning behind the wicket. It's all right, Hugo. You're not out. He is. Rocco was standing his ground. He got LBW. Ravi smiled at the older boy. Listen, he doesn't even know what that means. Gary jumped off the veranda and began to walk towards his son. Come on, Hugo. I'll explain why you're out. No! The same piercing scream. The boy looked as if he was going to hit his father with a bat. Put the bat down now. The boy did not move. Now! There was silence. Hector realised he was holding his breath. You're out, Hugo, you bloody spoil sport. Rocco, at the end of his tether, went to grab the bat from the younger boy. With another scream, Hugo evaded the older boy's hands, and then, leaning back, he lifted the bat. Hector froze. He's going to hit him. He's going to belt Rocco with that bat. In the second that it took Hector to release his breath, he saw Ravi jump towards the boys. He heard Gary's furious curse, and he saw Harry push past all of them and grab Hugo. He lifted the boy up in the air, and in shock, the boy dropped the bat. Let me go, Hugo roared. Harry set him on the ground. The boy's face had gone dark with fury. He raised his foot and kicked wildly into Harry's shin. The speed was coursing through Hector's blood. The hairs on his neck were upright. He saw his cousin's raised arm. It spliced the air, and then he saw the open palm descend and strike the boy. The slap sent to echo. It cracked the twilight. The little boy looked up at the man in shock. There was a long silence. It was as if he could not comprehend what had just occurred, how the man's action and the pain he was beginning to feel coincided. The moment broke. The boy's face crumpled, and this time there was no wail. When the tears began to fall, they fell silently. You fucking animal! Gary pushed into Harry and nearly knocked him over. There was a scream, and Rosie pushed past the men and scooped the child into her arms. She and Gary were shouting and cursing at Harry, who had backed up against the garage wall and appeared to be in shock himself. The children were watching with clear fascination. Rocco's face was filled with pride. Hector felt Aisha move beside him, and he knew as host there was something he should do, but he didn't know what. He wanted his wife to intervene because she would be calm and fair and just. He couldn't be just. He could not forget the exhilaration he had felt when the sound of the slap slammed through his body. It had been electric, it had been fiery, exciting, it had nearly made him hard. It was the slap he wished he had delivered. He was glad that the boy had been punished, glad he was crying, glad he was shocked and terrified. He saw that Connie had dropped from the tree and was moving quickly to the crying mother and child. He could not let her be the one to assume responsibility. He ran in between his cousin and the enraged parents. Come on, we're all going inside. Gary turned to him now. His face was contorted. He was hissing, and a spray of spit fell across Hector's cheek. No, we're fucking not. I'm calling the police. Rosie had a fist clenched. Harry's shock turned into outrage. Go fucking call the police. I fucking dare you. This is abuse, mate. This is child abuse. Your child deserved it, but I don't blame him. I blame his bogan parents. Connie had come up and touched Rosie. The woman swung around angrily. We should clean him up. Rosie nodded. Everyone was now on the veranda, and they cleared a path for the three to walk through. Hugo was still sobbing. Hector turned to his cousin. I think you should go. Harry was enraged, but Hector spoke quickly in Greek. He's drunk too much. You can't reason with him. What are you saying to him? Gary's face was right in front of him, nose to nose. He could smell the man's acrid perspiration and the stale odour of the alcohol. I'm just saying Harry should go home. He's not fucking going anywhere. I'm calling the cops. Gary took his mobile phone out of his pocket and held it up. See, I'm calling the cops. You're all witnesses. You can do that later. Sandy's voice was shaking as she walked up to Gary. I'll give you our details. If you want to make a charge later, then you can. But I think we all need to go home tonight and look after our kids. She began to cry. Gary looked mutinous and sneered, as though he was about to turn his abuse on her, when Rocco silently came up and stood beside his mother. His eyes were defiant as he looked up at the man. Gary's next words were quiet. Why are you with that bastard? Does he hit you too? Hector gripped tight on his cousin's shoulder. My husband is a good man. He hit a child. Sandy said nothing. What's your address? She shook her head. I'll give you our phone number. I want your address. Asha was beside him. Gary, I've got all the details. Sandy's right. We should all go home. She had her hand on the man's shoulder and the small gesture calmed him. Hector was filled with love for his wife. Aisha knew exactly what to do. She always did. He wanted to kiss her neck, to just hold on to her. Melissa had come up to her mother. She too was crying. Aisha curled her hand around her daughters. Adam came and stood beside him. Hector took the boy's hand. What the fuck am I doing? All that I have, all that I'm blessed with, and I'm putting it at risk? The boy's moist hand felt glued onto his own skin. Abruptly, Hector dropped his son's hand and walked into the house. As he passed his mother in the kitchen, she whispered to him, in Greek, "Δεν φταίει ο ξαδερφός σου. Your cousin was not in the wrong." "Shh, cooler," his father warned. "Don't make trouble." His old man looked frightened. Or maybe he was just tired of this new world. Danke.
Sein Handy hervor und schrieb eine SMS an Conny. Hilfe, die Zombies kommen. Dann sah er wieder hoch. Sein Vater stieß einen Seufzer aus. Hey, hör mal weg. Sein Vater und Oma Hills waren die einzigen, die ihn so nannten. Es war der Name seines Großvaters. Ich weiß, dass wir nicht das beste Verhältnis haben. Alles meine Schuld, gebe ich zu. Aber du bist jetzt alt genug, um bestimmte Dinge zu verstehen. Sein Vater hielt inne, kratzte sich im Kopf und lächelte zuversichtlich. Richie legte das Handy weg. Ich war gerade mal 19, als deine Mutter schwanger wurde. Ein Jahr älter als du jetzt bist. Ich war noch nicht so weit. Ich hab's vermasselt und bin abgehauen. Was soll ich jetzt deiner Meinung nach tun? Richies Handy vibrierte. Er überlegte heranzugehen, aber diesmal wollte er seinen Vater ausnahmsweise nicht provozieren. Er blieb still sitzen und trank ein paar kurze Schlücke von seinem Bier. Sein Vater spielte mit einer Schachtel Zigaretten auf dem Tisch. Kannst du mit raus? Ich will eine rauchen. Craig zögerte. Richie nickte. Kriege ich auch eine? Craig zögerte. Weiß deine Mutter, dass du rauchst? Ich rauche nicht, nur ab und zu. Erlaubt sie dir das? Ja, wirklich. Sag ich doch. Craig schob ihm eine Zigarette über den Tisch. Na, komm schon. Der Parkplatz war voll mit Rauchern. Es war ein warmer Abend und kaum standen sie draußen, fing Richie an zu schwitzen und verspürte eine schwammige Feuchtigkeit unter den Achseln. Er sah seinen Vater rauchen. Sie hielten die Zigarette beide gleich. 2 Finger um den Filter gekrümmt. Rauchten alle so oder nur Craig oder er? Willst du mich loswerden? Er erschrak selbst darüber, die Frage laut ausgesprochen zu haben. Wolltest du mich loswerden? Sein Vater runzelte die Stirn. Hat deine Mutter das behauptet? Nein. Zum ersten Mal stellte sich Richie seinen Vater als 19-Jährigen mit seiner schwangeren Freundin vor. Was machte man, wenn man als Schülerin ein Kind erwartete? Entweder man bekam es oder man trieb es ab. Was hätte er an seiner Stelle gewollt? Dass sie es wegmachen lässt. Fertig, aus. Etwas anderes kam überhaupt nicht in Frage. Craig war bestimmt total ausgerastet, als Tracy ihn behalten wollte. Sein Vater saugte förmlich an seiner Zigarette. Richie überlegte, dass er jetzt 37 sein musste. Ziemlich jung für einen Vater mit einem Kind in seinem Alter. Es wäre jedenfalls okay, wenn ich ein Mädchen schwängern würde, dann wäre ich froh, dass sie es abtreibt. Craig lachte. Ich bin froh, dass deine Mutter es nicht getan hat. Sie standen nebeneinander, rauchten und berührten sich fast. Es fühlte sich komisch an, als müssten sie sich jetzt umarmen oder sowas. Aber keiner von ihnen wusste, wie das ging.